Warning, what I'm about to show you is going to really tick some people off. They're going to say it's incomplete. And to that I answer with an analogy that if you want to run really fast, do you need to know everything about biomechanics, about how your ligaments are attached and your muscles work and all the physics of it? Or can you just get up and start running really fast once you've been doing it for a while? The same holds true for modal theory, learning the scales and modes on guitar, because it's a symmetrical instrument and you can take advantage of that and just learn the patterns and use them all over the guitar without actually knowing the notes like you would have to do on a piano or other instruments. And to be clear, I'm not saying you shouldn't learn those things at some point. They will definitely enhance your musical abilities and your ability to write good music. But to just get running, so to speak, you can learn these patterns first and just start playing the instrument and playing it all across the neck just by knowing the basics of the patterns and using visual recognition, pattern recognition to get good at it. So today I'm going to give you an overview of what the modes are all about so you can get up and running in less than 5 minutes. So in a moment, let's start the timer, but first, to understand the modes, the first thing you need to know is the basic major scale. And on the guitar, you just have to know the pattern of that major scale. You don't even need to know the names of the notes. And once you know the pattern, you know it in all 12 keys. The only thing you really need to know is the names of the notes on the lowest string where you're starting the scale. So it's not that hard. It's the same as your power chords, F, G, A, whatever that lowest note is where you're starting, that's where the major key begins. We're going to start on G and the basic major scale. I'm going to play it 3 notes on each string. I like to do that because it helps with my lead playing. And that is going to be starting with the root note. You go a whole step, then a half step. That's the 4th note though, so you start on the next string. Whole step, half step, and you go a whole step and a whole step. Again, you have another whole step, but you have to go to the next string. And then you have the octave, which is a half step away. So if I continue doing that all the way up to the top string, my pattern looks like this. And that is a basic major scale. I started that on G. I can move it anywhere. If I wanted to play A major, I would just take that pattern, not need to know the notes, and just go. Same exact pattern. Now, what is a mode? What is all the mystery around these weird sounding things, Dorian, Phrygian, Lydian, and what use are they? Well, all they are is the major scale starting on a different tone when you break it down to its most basic. So the Dorian mode happens to be the second one. Instead of starting G major on the first, I would start it on the second. Now, the thing is, if you're going to learn to play it all over the neck, you have to stick with that rule of 3 notes per string, so it creates a whole new pattern, which is going to look like this. I'm just going to go through it quickly. Now, each one of those patterns, that's a longer lesson. That's not about this 5-minute overview, and I'll link to that over here if you want to get started on that in depth, which you might after this. I'm just trying to give you an understanding so you know what it's about. And so you start each one of the modes, they've got their 7 names, and you start them on the different scale degree, and they create a different pattern. Now, to make music with these modes and make use of them, it's about the chords that you play in the background, not which scale you play. That's a common mistake that people make, thinking that if they learn the different scales, they can get the sound of the mode. If I'm playing a song that has a basic progression in a major key, so G, it doesn't matter what mode I play over it, which scale I play over it, it's going to sound like G major. I can use this, say this is the Phrygian mode here. It has that happy sound when you play it. You have to change the background music to match the mode. So now I want to take these notes and write chords that match them. And this is where you have to start to understand the theory a little better. But you can suss it out if you want, just out of this pattern that you learned by using the power chords associated with it. So if I have these 3 notes here, and if I have these 3 notes here, I know that I have those basic power chords, and I can write, say something in that 3rd mode. I can start it here. And now when I play over that, I can even use that basic major scale, that major pattern that you learned, and it's going to sound Phrygian. So if you want to put the modes to use and learn all 7 of those patterns, obviously it takes more than 5 minutes, but the overview of learning just what the modes are about and realizing that it's just starting the major scale in a different spot didn't take very long at all. Now at the highest level, and what the music theory traditionalists are going to want you to understand, is the actual intervals of the modes themselves, how they relate back to a major or a minor scale. And that is something that you might want to get into, so I do have a series on that as well. I'll link that up here if you get to that point where you really want to get further along with it and start to really write music understanding what the intervals are about. But otherwise, it's not mysterious, guys. It took me less than 5 minutes to explain to you what modes are about. I hope it made sense to you and you understood that, and don't try to make it more complicated than it is. At least on the guitar, it's all patterns and pattern recognition at first anyway, and that can help you using the stuff and getting you along to playing and playing leads and more than just one simple box pattern, and you can have a lot more fun playing guitar that way. As always, if you have any questions or comments, leave it in the comment line below. I'll get back to you as soon as I can, and until next time, guys, keep making great music. Hey friends, don't forget to subscribe and turn on notifications. It makes the whole world better.